Hey, Dustin Tibbetts here, financial advisor with Jazz Wealth Managers. How you doing today? We are financial advisors that work with investors of all sizes. And you know, the tips, the tricks, the help, the positioning that all the wealthy seem to get, well, we'll do that for you no matter what size account you have. And one of the things we're going to talk about today is the buckets. You've likely heard about the 3 buckets investors use, or maybe even 4, depending on how you kind of take a look at it. And I want to review that with you today because those buckets are kind of changing. So let's go over to the charts here and take a look. When you retire, it's very likely you are going to have 3 sources of income: Social Security, your investments, your IRAs and 401ks, things like that, and maybe your pension, right? So pensions or any sort of workplace plans that pay you out when you retire. Now, this is typically known as little buckets, right? So financial advisors will say, okay, when you retire, you've got these 3 buckets, and we're going to go ahead and try to find an efficient way to pull money out of those buckets so that you pay less taxes and you don't affect one bucket like Social Security. And maybe if you're going to leave some money to people, then you know what sort of area you're going to drain first and leave the rest to your heirs or family members if that's what you decide. Now, what's happening here is this bucket is slowly disappearing. A lot of you watching this don't have that bucket. You're not going to have that bucket. And so what happens is this bucket is turning into budgeting, right? We're having to figure out how to spend our money all together, right? We're having to have a strategy in that bucket rather than have dollars in that bucket. And I don't mean like spend money, how you spend money on every little thing like you're, going to Circle K or Starbucks or whatever. I mean the strategy to move forward, considering that most of us now have only these 2 legs. So we're really going to focus on that budget, okay? Now, Vanguard, great company, no reason to expect them to be lying to us or anything. Where are my numbers here? Vanguard says the median 401k balance is currently $58,000 in one's 401k. So let's just assume it's $58,000 is all you can make it to retirement with. Right? If that's the median balance, that's currently what they're saying, right? People are working their way with about that. It doesn't really give an age on, 65. The median balance of current investors that are 65 years old in their 401k is $58,000. Sorry, I misread that. Well, let's break it down here. If we know we've got to work on this budget here, if you take $58,000 a year, and really simply, just so I have easy math here, if we say that money never grows. You're 65, we want it to last 20 years. How much can we take out? It's $2,900 a year or $241 a month. Well, we can't live off that, right? That's not going to cut it. So in this bucket here, the median monthly payment is $241. Can you live off of that? No, right? So the budget bucket's starting to really become important here. Now, Social Security, 2018, actually the average Social Security payment was $1,422. All right, now we're talking. So in bucket number 1, you've got an average payment of $1,422. That's not horrible. Investment-wise, Vanguard's telling us that the median balance is $241 a month. Well, they're saying it's $58,000, but we're playing some simple math here. So we've got bucket number 1, $1,422. Bucket number 2, if all you had was your 401k at work, is $241. Add the 2 buckets together, what do you get? You get about $20,000 a year. Can you live off $20,000 a year? Maybe, right? I mean, that's not horrible. Don't kick yourself too hard if that's all you have. I know people that do pretty well with $20,000 a year. On the surface, it doesn't sound like a lot of money. Of course, who wants to live on $20,000 a year? But if you have most things paid off, your house and basic living expense, the more expensive things that you have, yeah, you could probably make it until we work in healthcare. Now we've got a problem. So let's just have some fun with this. Let's say, well, what if you want to fill up the other bucket? All right. You want to make this bucket like a Roth IRA, and your budgeting strategy is to say, I got my Social Security. Yes, you will have Social Security. I'm going to have some of my investment money. Didn't do too well there. Maybe wished I would have done a little bit better. But what if I did a Roth and I said, okay, if I just took some time and filled up a Roth IRA, where would I land here? So we're going to say, we'll get rid of the buckets there. And let's say that you have $20,000 taken care of, right? Out of everything we just talked about. Social Security, and you've got a really undersized 401k, and unfortunately that's what you're going to have to work with. So let's say, all right, I can't live off that. what if we add another $20,000 to it? I'm a young guy, I see these numbers, they're starting to scare me a little bit. What do I got to do to bring the total balance up to $40,000 so that, yeah, I could probably live off that in retirement? Raw numbers here, just talking raw numbers. Well, if you're 30 years old, then what you'll have to do if you're using a Roth, we're going to assume you're still retiring at 65, but if you're 30 years old, you're going to put in $39.41 a year into a Roth. That's all you got to do. $39.41. You've got your 401k kicking. You got Social Security brewing there. You're going to have that. That's fine. $39.41 for the year. Raise it by inflation. So if it's 2% this year, inflation, 3%, whatever it is, you just tack that on next year. If you're 40 years old, you got $69.17. Right? I'm not saying you have to do this. I'm just saying in order to reach an additional $20,000 in retirement, assuming 7% growth and assuming using a Roth IRA, and that you add to that whatever the rate of inflation is. If it's 3%, you add 3% to it. Well, if you did that, now you've got your 3 buckets again, only the budgeting side of things helped you out here. So now what we're going to have is Social Security. We've got our $1,422. We've got our 401k or our workplace plans. They're next to nothing. So that was that $241 we talked about. In reality, it's going to be more, right? Even if you had just put it in a very stable value fund or some sort of bond fund or something, you're going to make a little more than that. You're going to have some growth in retirement on that. But now if we say, okay, we have this Roth, right? We're using this bucket here as sort of our budgeting, additional money that we live off of. Now I've got this other $20,000 that I could put in here. Let's call that $1,500 a month, right? To get to, it's a little more than that, but you get what I'm saying. Now we've got some money we could live off of here. So a simple little strategy to say, let me work on a Roth if I qualify, if it's necessary and all that stuff, just to help boost that bottom line by what? 100%, right? Potentially 100% to double our income in retirement. If you can't do that Roth IRA, the whole purpose of this was to say, you've got 2 buckets. And if you're 60 years old and you go, Dustin, I don't have time, I can't put money in a Roth. If the goal is to live off that money there, your 3rd bucket has got to be a budget. You've got to sit down and figure out how are you going to spend and live on this money if that's all you have. For the rest of you that are younger, don't fall into that situation. Maybe some of you that are older could leave comments below going, holy cow, I wish I would have started earlier when I have time to actually get things done there. So I hope this helps you in some way. A bit of a rambling video, but I just happened to see an article on the median 401k balance, and I thought, well, there's a way to fix that, right? If you have some time left, you can fix it. And then, of course, a financial advisor or whoever you're working with can help you strategize which way is the most efficient way to put that money away. Well, I hope that helps you. If it did in some way, maybe you'll hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys watching, and we will talk to you soon.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interest comes before ours.